Awesome. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Running a couple of minutes late, but we just wanted to make sure everyone was back from lunch and sort of ready to go. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Laura Dempsey, and I work as an engagement specialist here at CanadaHelps. And we're really excited to have you all joining us for our first ever Charity Spotlight webinar. So we're super excited about this. For those of you that normally join us for our webinars, you might find that this is kind of a slightly different focus, but it's something I'm really excited about. In the position that I'm in, every day I have the privilege to speak to a variety of different organizations about amazing fundraising initiatives that they're running, different campaigns that they have, and in general just hear all the awesome ideas that you guys have in terms of fundraising. So really we wanted to kind of begin to feature some of our amazing charity partners and show off the success that they were having using some of the CanadaHelps tools. But in general, I just think it's super important across the sector to really be sharing lessons that we're learning, what's kind of working in fundraising, what's not working. So hopefully today, in partnership with the Nova Scotia SPCA, we can sort of run through that and answer some of the burning questions in regard to specific campaigns. In terms of kind of how this will run, we're really going to cover a specific campaign that the Nova Scotia SPCA ran and had a lot of success with, but it will really show you how to utilize some of those CanadaHelps tools to kind of run a successful campaign, and hopefully lots of useful takeaways for you for your next fundraising initiative. So in terms of very quickly how this will run, we'll pop through, there I am, that horrible photo, ignore that, but I will pop my contact details up at the end as well if you need to get in touch with us. But agenda-wise, we're going to very briefly touch on CanadaHelps and who we are. Many of you may already know. We'll then dive in and introduce the Nova Scotia SPCA. And then we're going to dive in to sort of a question and answer period, a bit of a chat about the successful campaign that they ran and sort of how they stewarded donors through that entire process. Towards the end, we'll touch on a couple of high-level sort of fundraising trends and how that's impacting what the Nova Scotia SPCA are doing next. And then we're going to finish off with an audience Q&A. So I know a couple of you have submitted some questions in advance, so we'll try and get through as many questions as possible. There'll also be some time towards the end to submit those questions. So if anything comes up as we're chatting, you can always pop that into the sort of chat box there, and we will, try and get through as many as we can in that time. So before I dive in and introduce Laura and Taylor from the Nova Scotia SPCA, I'm just going to run through a couple of quick housekeeping slides. First of all, I wanted to just really briefly talk about CanadaHelps. So a lot of you who've tuned in probably know kind of who we are, but we are an organization and a registered charity ourselves whose mission is to promote and increase giving across Canada, but also for charities. We have a whole host of fundraising tools that you can utilize on your own websites, and really our mission is to democratize access to online fundraising. So we want to make sure that every organization has access to tools and can run successful fundraising campaigns. We do this in a couple of ways. So we have those fundraising tools. We also have CanadaHelps.org, which some of you may have visited, which is really a hub for donors to head to and find your awesome organizations and give. And then sort of the third vein that we do, we have an education piece. So webinars such as these, we have a host of white papers, and we're kind of doing research all the time about giving more generally. So yeah, we basically just want to share a lot of those lessons with you, and hopefully that's something that we're going to do today. So just in terms of the technical stuff, if you are having any trouble hearing me, first off, try turning up your computer's volume. If that doesn't work, if you click Sound Check under the GoToWebinar panel, select the Speaker tab and then turn the volume on this to the far right for maximum volume. Hopefully that should help you out. For the best webinar experience, try closing everything else. I know many of us run with 3,000 tabs open. That's how I operate day to day, but try closing everything down. It can just help with the whole experience, audio and video-wise. And I know we get asked it a lot, but we will be emailing out all of the slides and the recording of the webinar within the next 24 hours. And I think also an extra resource as well, which will be useful for sort of end-of-year fundraising. So look out for that. Yeah, so don't worry about making too many notes. We'll make sure we sort of send that over to you. And just as we kind of move through this, just remember that you can hear me, but I can't hear you. So if you do have any questions, just type them into the questions log at any time, and we'll also then try and go through as many of these as possible. If you are having any ongoing issues with audio, let us know in that box as well. It might be that we'll have to turn off the camera sort of through this process, but hopefully we'll be good. It looks like everything, the internet is strong at the moment, so stay with us for the time being. So let's dive in. So today it is my absolute pleasure to introduce Laura Berube and Taylor Mundy from the Nova Scotia SPCA. I'm going to let both of them introduce themselves and also their organisation more widely, but just as sort of a bit of background, I've had the privilege of working with these two amazing women for the past year now and this organisation, and it's always a complete pleasure to chat with them, talking about kind of the campaigns they're running, online fundraising more generally, and me and Laura do talk about Bachelorette quite a bit. Sorry to expose you, but that is something that we end up talking about. But anyway, we'll move on from that. But in all seriousness, I'm super excited to spend the next hour with you and yeah, just share with everyone about all the awesome stuff that you guys have been up to and all the success you've been having. So thank you so much for joining us.
You guys can see us, right? We're on the...
We can see you, and you look beautiful.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Laura Berube. I'm the Development Database Administrator at the SPCA here in Nova Scotia. I've been at the Nova Scotia SPCA for just over 2 years. I love working in the database. I love organizing information, and I love making the donation process easy and fun for donors, and I get to do that every day.
Awesome. And hi, everyone. I'm Taylor Mundy, and I'm the Communications and Development Officer here at the Nova Scotia SPCA. I've been here for a little over 2 years as well, and I have a background in psychology, nonprofit leadership, and marketing, and I'm passionate about raising funds and raising awareness.
Awesome. Yeah, I have a background in psychology as well. Never knew that, Taylor. There you go. So I actually had the absolute pleasure of coming to visit you guys back in May, I believe it was now, when I was in Halifax. And Laura, thank you so much for showing me around. It was amazing to kind of see the facility, and there was lots of cute kittens and pups, which also helped. I'm very jealous of where you work every day. But I think it's probably useful for people that are tuning in. If you could just maybe give us a brief kind of overview about who the Nova Scotia SPCA is and are, and what you kind of do more widely.
Yeah, perfect. So the Nova Scotia SPCA, we're a registered charity, and we help companion animals in need. So we don't receive any government funding to support our day-to-day operations at our shelters, so community support is essential. So we believe in 4 pillars: in animal rescue, veterinary care, rehabilitation, and sheltering. So every year, more than 6,500 animals come through our doors. I mean, some were abandoned, some homeless, injured, or abused, but they all deserve that second chance. So here at the SPCA, we'll work one-on-one with them to give them to, I guess, work one-on-one to rebuild their trust and to fully vet them so they're safe, happy, and healthy, and give them that unconditional love and around-the-clock care until they find that forever family. So we have some progressive programs in place to not only help pets in need, but families and communities too. So we have programs like Prevent Unwanted Pets that help families that unexpectedly find themselves with a surprise litter of puppies or kittens. And then we also have programs like our Pets Aren't Charities food drives that help caring pet owners fill hungry bellies.
Yeah, so our organization, we're actually made up of 6 shelters across the province, along with several really great foster groups. We actually amalgamated into one organization back in 2016, and we're really unique in that we are no-kill and open admission, so we would never turn an animal away at our shelters that's in need of immediate help. We also have amazing enforcement officers that enforce our 5 freedoms. So the freedom from hunger and thirst, freedom to express normal behaviors, exercise, freedom from pain, injury, and disease, and freedom from discomfort or lack of shelter, and freedom from fear and distress, and all of that is through the Animal Protection Act of Nova Scotia. We also receive no government funding to run any of our shelters.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, guys. And it's really interesting to hear that you receive no government funding. I think more and more when I'm speaking to organizations, it's something a lot of people are facing. Either they have never received that or they did previously receive that and it's now sort of being retracted. So it's awesome to kind of hear that. And I think a lot of people will, be excited to kind of hear what you then do to sort of, tackle that and sort of raise funds. So just to, I think to give everyone that's kind of listening some background of sort of how we all connected. So it was sort of at the beginning of the year now, I believe, and that I'd spoken to you guys, but actually a couple of other people from your organization as well. We did sort of like a group demo, which we did. Obviously, you guys are in Halifax and we're in Toronto, so we did that kind of over a screen share. And just sort of walked you through all of the tools that you have access to in the CanadaHelps fundraising account. And for anyone that's sort of listening, that's something that our team and myself and the other people that work in the engagement team, we do a lot. So if you do ever want to kind of pop some time aside and have a chat with us or run through something kind of over screen share, we're always happy to run through all of the tools that you sort of have access to in the CanadaHelps account. Feel free to reach out to me directly or kind of our team more widely, but I just wanted to kind of throw that out there because normally that's kind of the initial way that we end up sort of speaking to people. We love letting people know what's kind of in that account, and then from there something will probably pop up and you guys are like, oh, we could maybe use one of the tools to sort of tackle this campaign. So yeah, that was sort of at the beginning of the year, and then I believe it was end of April, beginning of May, Laura, that you reached out and you'd launched a campaign the night before, and you called me and were kind of in disbelief about how many donations had rolled in. You kind of like, is this right? I'm not sure we've done this correctly. So I took a look and we were like, yeah, we definitely have raised this amazing amount. So yeah, maybe you wouldn't mind talking more to kind of that campaign and how that kind of came around and what that involved.
Yeah, absolutely. I do remember the night before seeing the social media posts get really popular. I could see lots of shares, so I knew the first thing that I wanted to do the next day was pull the report on CanadaHelps and see how much had come in. Actually, before I called you, Laura, I called Taylor, who was on her way to work, and I told her just that morning we had raised $20,000 overnight. It continued to grow throughout the day, but when I came in the morning, it was $20,000. And I called Taylor, and I'm pretty sure we both cried.
Yep. Yep, we did.
That's so cute. I was the same though. I remember when you called me and I was like, oh, yeah. And I was like looking, I was like, no, these numbers are definitely right. Because I think, so just to give kind of a bit more context, I'm going to introduce the star of the show, which is Bear, who this campaign was about. But yeah, I remember having that conversation. It's something that sticks with me because it was such a cool thing to kind of go through with you and be like, wow, you guys have raised so much money. But yeah, maybe if you could introduce Bear and sort of let us know how this kind of came around.
Okay, yeah. So Bear, he was rescued by SPCA enforcement officers, and it was towards the end of April. His poor face was absolutely filled with porcupine quills, and his condition was neglected for far too long. So porcupine quills, they can be very, very dangerous and very, very scary because they have a fish hook barb on the end of it, and so they'll actually go deeper and deeper, migrating in towards the body. So they can easily pierce like a vital organ, and it can be very fatal. So on top of that, it's very tricky to remove them because once they have started to migrate, they're a natural substance and they don't actually show up on an X-ray. So we knew with Bear's condition it was going to take multiple exploratory surgeries to ensure his health and safety, and these are very costly, especially where we don't receive any government funding. We were very worried about this. So we wanted to reach out to the community to try to help Bear. So we split up and we were able to prepare something just in a few hours. I worked on trying to get a captivating photo of Bear's condition and wrote up a very direct social media post to schedule for later that evening. And Laura worked on the form, and she can probably speak more to that.
Yeah, so we knew that we wanted to push out on social media, and we were thinking, wouldn't it be a really good idea to use one of these custom donate pages on CanadaHelps just for Bear? We had never done that before, but we wanted to try. So I popped together a multi-step form, which is what we can see here on the screen, literally in minutes with that picture. And it was ready to go by 4:30 p.m. when I left that day. And it's so simple and easy. I think it looks really professional and great. And Taylor was able to use the link in the post on Facebook that night.
Awesome. It looks, yeah, it looks really nice. I love how this form kind of looks. So just for people that are kind of listening and maybe haven't sort of come across like these donation forms before, really what this tool allows you to do is build, as Laura said, in minutes, a form that you can really customize to a specific ask, a specific campaign, a particular project. So often organizations will build these and use this to kind of process general donations on their website, but they can be super powerful for something like this, so an urgent appeal or a specific campaign. So all of these forms can be created from the back end of your CanadaHelps account. You can customize the colors, which you guys did beautifully. You kind of match it to your branding, obviously pop that photo up there, which is really emotive and kind of drives donors. And as well, you kind of managed to put that story on there and that kind of ask. So there's a lot of different features of the form that can be customized, and really it just allows donors to kind of be provided with a place they can go and donate that really speaks to, you know, exactly what they've been asked to kind of give to. And another thing which I always find quite nice about these forms is that you can customize the thank you message that is then sent from the form, which I always find is super powerful, especially for something like this where you're kind of asking donors to give to a very specific cause. Yeah, so this, I'm so glad that we were able to kind of pop this example up. So sort of in general, you kind of, walked us through who Bear is and what kind of the need was. In general, was this kind of campaign looking to solve a problem that you've sort of faced before?
Yeah. So the problem that we're trying to solve, like many charities, is to try to find ways to raise awareness and raise funds at the same time. So we're always trying to find and connect with people that believe in our cause. So our goal with this campaign was to raise funds and find and keep those supporters. So we ended up having nearly 1,000 new people donate to the SPCA to help Bear, and so we wanted to properly steward them so that they would stay engaged in the future.
Yeah, and we actually had an urgent appeal back in February, which is it was a little similar to Bear, with a dog named Mika, who was also part of a cruelty seizure. But her story had already been publicized by the time she'd come into the care of the Nova Scotia SPCA. So a lot of people, a lot of our social media followers and donors already knew about Mika. There was a story that we were able to tell them ourselves. The other thing with Mika's campaign, which raised about $4,600, we used our regular donate page on our website, which is not super customizable. It's not super easy for a donor to use either. So we're thinking that maybe they wanted to donate, but then they saw that page and they were thought, what if my money isn't going right to Mika? So that's kind of what our motivation was, to use CanadaHelps for Bear instead of our regular page.
For sure, and have that really specific focus. So I know that you popped the form together, and then I think as we can see on the screen, these are kind of a couple of examples of how you shared that on social media. So was it kind of through social media, was that like the biggest sort of push for people to donate? Yeah. Did you send like an email out, or was it more sort of social focused?
It was all social,
yeah,
right?
So it was all through social. So we had Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and then we used email to steward the donors afterwards.
Awesome. Amazing. And I think as well, if we pop through, yeah, I've got another slide here that just kind of really quickly captures the impact that had. So I think at the beginning, we were talking about when we all kind of called each other and we were amazed by sort of how much had been raised. But I believe in total, it came to sort of close to $40,000 in donations.
Yeah, it helps, yes. Almost 40,000.
Amazing, which is an awesome growth, I guess, if you've had an appeal before that was sort of like around the 4,000 or 5,000 mark, to then kind of come in and be like, oh wow, we've raised nearly 40,000. That's yeah, it's awesome to hear. And as well, I think, Taylor, you spoke to it before, but 1,000 new donors, which I think is something that's always great to really draw in through these campaigns. Obviously, it's fantastic to have those returning donors, and that support is so important, but to have then 1,000 new donors that you can sort of begin to engage with and who you know are inspired to kind of give in this way, I think that's a super cool statistic as well.
We're able to continue to steward those donors. We just did a direct mail piece recently, just about, I think it was last month. We dropped a direct mail piece and we sent it to the Bear donors, all the Bear donors, and we had a little merge field in the direct mail piece that said, you helped Bear, now you can help these animals too, or something similar. So we're really able to use the donors that we got to tell them other stories now, which is really great.
For sure, and I think you guys are so good at that as well. I have to admit, I donated to the Bear Appeal as well because I was just like, oh, and I love getting the emails, and I know also you sent like a direct mail as well, kind of following up on that as well. So yeah, that's something that you guys do really, really well. And that actually kind of brings me to my next question. It's something that I get asked a lot in my position, and it's to do with sort of actually stewarding donors. So you've put that form together, you've sent it out, you've had this amazing response and people have donated. It's then that next step of how do you then steward donors, how do you turn people into kind of returning donors? And it's something that at CanadaHelps and on the engagement team we can definitely advise on because we kind of see so many campaigns going through, but it's certainly you guys that are the complete kind of expert on this. So I know you kind of touched on it briefly, but in terms of specifically sort of how you then stewarded people, what did that process kind of look like for donors?
Yeah, we did it in a few different ways. So right off the bat, myself and another colleague here at the SPCA were answering questions and thanking donors immediately that same evening. This kind of worked to our advantage in two ways, because the more comments and shares a Facebook post has, the more organically it's boosted in with Facebook's algorithm into people's news feeds. So by us commenting and replying, not only did it give those donors that immediate response and immediate thank you, but it also boosted our post to reach even more. So one thing that was very unique to our campaign was that we promised people that if they donated, that they would be the first to receive personal updates on Bear. And so we originally posted Bear's call to action on the evening of May 2nd, and just a few days later on May 5th, the first one went out. So anyone who had donated, they got a mail up. And so this first update was all about Bear's surgery and that his owner had been charged under the Animal Protection Act. So next, after that, we reached out to individual donors and groups that gave more than $150 towards Bear's surgery and care. And we invited them to have the opportunity to see his positive progress and to really see how their donor dollars were used. And so they fell totally in love with him, and I think it was really great for them because we were able to have those conversations to see why they felt compelled to donate. And then after that, we had two more personal updates that were emailed out. The second one there, they were the first to know that he was medically cleared and that he was available for adoption. And then we gave an adoption update with his new forever family and just letting them know that we will always be there for Bear. Actually, one of the top donors was actually the person who ended up adopting Bear.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and I love that picture of Bear that we've got up there, like literally pulls on my heartstrings. And I think my favorite thing from these emails that were going out was the thank you very much for your kind support. I love a pun, so I really enjoyed that.
Thank you. I thought the pun was great.
Yeah. When that landed in my inbox, I was like, I'm enjoying this. Awesome. In terms of in addition to, say, like the donation form, like I think that's awesome that people were able to donate so easily. Did you find anything in addition to that that you did that was maybe unique or different than you kind of done before that really led to success? Was there additional things that you kind of implemented?
Yeah, totally. So that follow-up story, people were really, really loving that. Even though we did post updates later on social media, they just felt very special getting that in their inbox, and rightfully so. The post itself, I think, was very unique and was very strong. We used simple, direct language and just one captivating photo with direct eye contact. And we launched it during our high traffic time. So we noticed that on our Facebook channels that our most popular time is between 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. That's whenever people are usually on our Nova Scotia SPCA Facebook pages. So we wanted to launch it during that high traffic time to kind of give us the greatest chance at being a success. And then stewarding those large donors and to have that opportunity to meet Bear, for them to see how their donor dollars were used, I think that was really important.
Yeah, and then on the not so fun side of things, although I think it's fun, we also wanted to be able to collect the donor information as quickly as possible. So I really needed to come up with an easy way to do that. Prior to this campaign, we had just been kind of manually importing gift information from CanadaHelps to our donor database. So I had to implement new importing procedures to capture email addresses, first and last name, regular address, phone number, and I had to do that really quickly before the end of the month. So that was fun.
Fun. But I feel like you enjoy doing that though, and it's good to have all that information, I think, because then it's when you do that next campaign, or you reach out for sort of an end of year, it's great to kind of have that all in one place. And I do really think with campaigns like this where you're reaching out to people, and be it by email or social media, it's so important to kind of build that list as you sort of go. I think strength in having that database can be really useful for this, for sure. Awesome. One thing that you kind of touched on, and we'll kind of show people what that looked like in a second, was the follow-up story on Bear. And I think that whole element of storytelling is something that I see time and time again is like a real trend at the moment. So I feel like whenever I'm at a conference at the moment, there's always a session on storytelling. It's kind of like the big thing. Everyone's like, share your stories. And I think more and more with social media, people really like those authentic stories. So not that kind of, picture perfect images. It's real images. It's that real story, something that people can connect to. Do you feel that storytelling is something that really played into the success of this campaign? And is it something that kind of guides other fundraising initiatives that you run?
Oh yeah, and I think you nailed it there whenever you said whenever it's real and raw, that's whenever it really connects with people. And so we're always trying to not just push out content, we want to pull people in, and that's exactly what stories do. So I recently read a book that I would recommend everyone read. It's called Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. In the intro, it starts off with, this is not a book about telling your company's story. A book like that would be a waste of time. People generally don't care about your story, they care about their own. And it really hit me in that moment that the donor, the supporter, the adopter, whoever they are, they have to feel like the hero, not us. So with that, that's kind of changed my writing to be even more donor-centric and change statements from, instead of we need your help, to Bear is fighting for his life and he needs your help. And with stories, what we try to implement is that they should hit the 4 E's. And so the first E is educate, so that they should learn something. The second is excite, so it should fire them up. The third would be engage. They want to add their voice to it. And the fourth would be entertain. So it triggers something in them to want to share it and tell other people as well.
I love that. That's some great advice. And I've also just made a note of this book. I feel like everyone in this room, we should all read it. I'm going to get on Amazon after and order it Prime. Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. And then I think one of the most important question really of the day is, how is Bear getting on now?
He's doing so great. We were actually just speaking with Bear's fur mama, Holly, just the other day. And she said that they haven't had any more cruel scares, which is fantastic, and they're slowly socializing him. So with Bear, he was an outdoor dog. He had never lived indoors before. So that picture that you're seeing there, that's him enjoying his first ever bed in his home, which is so lovely. You can tell he loves it. And she has 2 sons, and they're currently under the weather right now with the flu, and she said that Bear has not left the son's side, which is really amazing. She said that they just feel so lucky to have him.
That's so cute. And honestly, when you sent those images through to us, like I think I told you, but I sent them around to the whole office, and we are a big animal office here, as I think majority of people are. So like when we see stories like this, it's just, we love them. Yeah, I sent it around to everyone, and yeah, it's just so cute. That photo of him with his brothers, like how he's actually smiling.
Yeah.
Love it.
It's so cute.
Absolutely love it. Amazing. So I know that we kind of touched on storytelling and sort of how pertinent that is in terms of fundraising right now, but more kind of widely here at CanadaHelps. As I sort of said at the beginning of the webinar, we obviously have the host of fundraising tools. We have our CanadaHelps.org website that really sort of supports donors to give. But a huge piece of what we do is education. And we're kind of always looking at different trends in the sector, what is sort of happening next, what's kind of happening online, and the next big thing. And we're really lucky, especially kind of in the team that I work in, as I said, we speak to so many different organizations organizations every day, and it's always super interesting to hear about kind of what people are doing, and we sort of see the trends of what's working at certain times of the year, and just kind of new ideas. Although we have those tools that you can use to kind of implement campaigns, really all the ideas are coming from organizations. But yeah, one thing that we do also kind of do is research and just kind of looking across the board how fundraising and what's happening kind of, online. So I just wanted to kind of share a couple of different pieces that we're looking into. One thing I did want to say as well is obviously we have these webinars which we try and focus on a variety of different subjects, but we also have white papers that we offer, and all of the recording of our previous webinars is on the website as well. So for anyone that's kind of listening, and obviously for you guys as well, Taylor and Laura, there is on our website a whole education piece. So if you head to our site and find that kind of for charities education, you'll find a host of different resources on there. And another thing, if there's kind of something particularly that is of interest to you guys or you want certain advice on, always reach out to us. Like, we're always kind of looking for the next thing that would help you to sort of walk through different fundraising initiatives. So yeah, you can always either reach out to me directly, and my contact details will be at the end, or our team kind of more widely, and we can make sure we kind of focus either next webinar or maybe white paper on something you're interested in. One thing that we've kind of found as we've been looking at giving kind of across Canada, and I think it's something that we all kind of know in the positions that we're in, is that giving in Canada is stagnant and has actually been decreasing for sort of the past couple of years. So I think being in the positions we're in, that can actually be quite depressing to think about, especially when we know how many of you are just doing awesome things all the time to kind of continually try and raise those dollars. But one thing that I think is a huge silver lining is that online giving in Canada is increasing. So yeah, overall decreasing, but online giving is increasing. And I think that's really where there's that big kind of cloud of hope, and something that we really want to help kind of make sure you can take advantage of and make kind of optimize as best as possible online, so you can really take advantage of those donors that are heading online to give. So just kind of a couple of statistics that I wanted to touch on, which just kind of echo this. So from research that we've done, we found that 60% of donors in North America prefer to give online. So we've passed over that kind of 50% barrier now. So we always want to make sure that people are really tuned in and organizations are tuned in to make sure they're fundraising online. Another really interesting thing that we find is 74% of donors are primarily digitally inspired to give. So that just means that people are online, on social media, or receiving emails, and that's really what's motivating them. That's where they're seeing those stories, and that's what's kind of encouraging them to donate. So that is kind of the best place to be showing off, you know, your mission, what you're doing with your organization. That is where people are becoming motivated to give. And then that last one there, 33%, I think it's 33%, it's covering them, pretty sure it's 33, is of our traffic at CanadaHelps is coming through a mobile device. So that's something as well that we really want to make sure people are kind of ready to deal with. All of the tools within that kind of CanadaHelps fundraising account are completely mobile optimized. So the form, for example, that you guys were using, if people were sort of accessing that on their phone or iPad or, you know, desktop, it always sort of resizes dependent on kind of how they're accessing. So that's something to be really important to make sure is kind of there with your fundraising as well. And another thing to know, even if as an organization you have a website that isn't mobile optimized, all of our tools are. So for example, you have your website, you have that donate button. You can then click off to a donation form that is mobile optimized and will resize to that person's phone. So yeah, I think it's just important to share some of those kind of facts, because I think, first of all, it's nice to be like, oh yeah, no, this is good. People are still giving, they're giving online. And it's just to make sure that people are sort of prepared to handle that and sort of process online giving. So anyway, I've just gone off on a tangent there, which I often do. But I just wanted to cover that because I always find day to day, I'm like speaking to people and they're like, oh, you know, this is, the government funding's been cut, or this is, and I'm like, no, there's hope. There is ways to do this. We just need to be ready to kind of tap into donors online. So kind of in light of that and the fact that you do have so much interaction online, based on kind of these sort of trends, are there any ideas that you guys and the Nova Scotia SPCA sort of more widely that you're looking at trying, or things that you're kind of planning in the future?
There are some things we're planning in the future. Taylor and I are actually working on a new website for the Nova Scotia SPCA, and we have some people who use lots of CanadaHelps features with the new website. One of them is we have a gift guide, like a physical gift guide that we mail out for the holidays. We've done it twice, this year and then a couple years ago. That gift guide is now going to be on our website, so people can use that. It looks great. We are also switching our main donation form from whatever we have now to CanadaHelps. So on the donate button, it'll go out to a CanadaHelps multi-step form, but we're also going to use an embedded full form on the bottom of several of the pages as well, so the donation form is kind of in your face all the time. And we have plans to use some of the peer-to-peer functions as well for people who want to fundraise for us, throw events for us, do like a memorial kind of fundraiser and things like that. Yeah. We also set up a multi-step form for our shelters to use whenever they need items for the shelters, like bleach, cat litter, cat food. So when they do a call out for those items, they can link to the CanadaHelps form for anyone who isn't able to get out and go shopping.
Amazing. Sounds like you've been diving in and using everything.
Yeah.
This is what we like to hear. And it's really interesting to hear about the gift guide, actually, because I know it's something that we've spoken about, and it's something that I think 2 weeks ago now we sort of covered in a webinar. Could you maybe just really briefly explain to people sort of what that looks like? So maybe just a couple of examples of the gifts that you've focused on.
Yeah. I wish I could show it to you too, because it looks really good, but our website is still private because we're still working on it. So a couple of the items are, we've got like intake vaccines for $35 or an incubator for like $1,000, things like that our shelters really need. So with the magazine, donors can browse through, choose what they want to support, and then send in a donation. They're either making that donation or they're purchasing it as a gift for someone, and we'll send a card. So I really like to send it out during the holiday time. So for online, our website, we had to make like a customized page to have all those pretty pictures and dollar amounts and stuff. But when you click on one of those items, it will link out to a CanadaHelps multi-step form with a picture that kind of matches that item, and then like the dollar amounts customizable to however much that item costs.
Amazing. And have you customized the thank you messages? That's one of my favorite features.
I should probably do that. We will be customizing it.
Before we launch.
I'll be checking on you. But I think that's like a really useful feature. We've seen a lot of people building out gift guides now, especially I think around the holidays. It's obviously super useful. But even kind of throughout the year, we find it something that donors really connect with, because I think it kind of ties back to this almost kind of the similar storytelling thing. It's just knowing kind of, okay, what has my donation sort of gone to? And something that I think you guys do really well as well, and it's something that I know that you found during the Bear campaign, is then when you kind of are asking these specific asks, it's what if you raise more than you sort of expected to? And I think that's something that we kind of learned going through this process with the Bear campaign, because you sort of had this target initially and then you absolutely went above and beyond, but donors are still sort of very connected to what they've given to. So is that something that is kind of similar with the gift guide? Is there, how do those kind of funds work in terms of, do you raise a certain amount and then it goes to a more general fund?
Yeah, we do have a disclaimer on there. So if we do, you know, like we don't, it's hard to say, we don't need like 1,000 incubators. So if we do that, if people donate 1,000 incubators, then we do have a disclaimer there to say we'll still use it towards the area of greatest need. Your money will still be useful to the shelters. Yeah.
There's something in the same category too.
Yeah,
so,
there's something in the same
something
category.
Spoke to you in the rescue section, it would go towards rescue, animal rescue, that sort of thing.
For sure, that's awesome. I'm so excited to see that come online as well, because I've got like the hard copy of the gift guide from last year, and I've seen previews of a couple of the forms, so I'm really excited to sort of see what that looks like. And another, yeah, I'm really excited about it. And something that you also touched on was kind of the changes you're making to your website more widely, and you mentioned that kind of donate button that's going to be there and really clear, and I think that again is an awesome piece of sort of advice to pass on. It's normally a really simple one, but it's often when we see different organizations' websites, sometimes it's something that's missing. So just make sure you always have that donate button there, normally in kind of a different accent color, and something that when no matter where anyone clicks on your website, they can still see that donate button. I think that's super important. Rather than having to look around, you know, I'm inspired to give, how do I do this? You have that donate button sort of there, front and forward.
Well, it's really nice with that multi-step tool as well, because it's not completely overwhelming. It kind of breaks it into little manageable chunks as well, which is really great for the donor process.
Yeah.
For sure, and I think we keep talking about the multi-step sort of style of form, and it's something that you guys use really well, which I think we saw from that bear form. I've just realized, kind of for people that are sort of listening who maybe haven't kind of seen the different styles of forms that we have before, as a really brief kind of overview, CanadaHelps offers 3 different styles of donation forms. We have the multi-step form, which is the one that we sort of showed there with Bear. I think I can pop back to it so we can take a look at it. I'm just going to jump through here. Here you go. So yeah, this is sort of what the multi-step form looks like, and as you both said, it has that kind of smaller form there that people can fill in, and they click through to next and they can kind of fill in all their details and complete the donation. But just to also say that we do have a full style of form, which just means the entire form is on one page and allows people to complete that donation in sort of on that one page. And we also have a tribute first form, so that can be really useful if you get a lot of in tribute giving, or you have a section on your website where you do sort of want to speak to in tribute giving, and that just basically allows you to feature a tribute section towards the beginning of the form. Another thing that we can actually do when we send out the email, Jen, I'm looking at you over here, is maybe send out a couple of examples of some really good styles of forms so people can take a look at them. Yeah, but as I said, if anyone wants to kind of dive into this in a little bit more detail, feel free to reach out to me. I can always kind of walk you through all of the different options there, for sure. Okay, so jumping in to the last question, and this really is just one that I wanted to pop in there because I just think it's a bit fun. And I just wanted to ask you guys, so if you could have a charitable superpower to help save the world, what would it be? And I'm really interested to hear your answers here because we were talking about this earlier.
This is a really hard question.
But
you can blame our marketing team for this. They came up with this.
Before I answer this, I just want to say that I forgot that it was charitable superpower to save the world, and I thought it was just superpower, and I was getting really selfish.
Superpower work.
I was like, oh, I went selfish. But no, I think that for me, the responsibility of saving the world would be a little too much, and I would never want to have the power all to myself. So I guess that if I were to have a superpower, it would be to just bring everyone together so that we can all help save the world, because I don't want to be the only person doing it.
Taking all that pressure on you. That's quite a big job, actually, in hindsight.
And I don't know for mine. I keep on going back and forth, but I feel like with my background being in fund development, obviously kind of raising money comes to mind first and foremost. So I know there's a lot of charities that are I mean, money is tight and donors are tight, and there's so many worthy causes out there. So it would just be that if money wasn't an issue and all the causes could fulfill their missions without that kind of being a barrier.
I like it, guys. Very selfless answers. That's some so cute. I love it. And also, I genuinely don't know my answer to this question. I always say my superpower, if I could have one, is to just speak every language in the world.
That's a good one.
That would actually be really useful in fundraising as well, but I wish. I'm still getting there, still practicing my French. But anyway, yeah, thanks for that. They're both awesome answers. So that's probably enough of me asking questions. So what we are going to do now is just sort of open up the floor to people that are tuned in and listening. And yeah, you guys can submit questions, and then we will hand back over to you guys and yeah, fire a couple of questions over. So maybe if we give it 2-3 minutes, and we'll just let people kind of pop some questions in. I know there's a couple that were submitted a bit earlier, but yeah, we'll take a look kind of through them, and then yeah, we can jump back on and head those over to you guys.
Okay, sounds good.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. So yeah, thank you so much, everyone. There's a host of different questions on there. So we'll dive in and see if we can answer as many of those as we can get through in sort of the time that we have left. So the first question to Taylor or Laura, whoever wants to jump in. Someone has asked, how do you test ideas for campaigns when you have limited time and limited resources, which I think a lot of organizations do?
Mm-hmm. It's hard whenever it comes to something like that, whenever there's less money. I think that's whenever you have to get a little bit more creative.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's why we like CanadaHelps so much, because we can, it's free for us to use. It's really easy for donors to use, and we can kind of play around with it, and it's really simple to throw those forms together. As long as you've got good pictures, you are good to go. They take minutes to put up, so if you're running out of time, I promise you can do it really quickly.
Awesome. Yeah, and that's something actually that when I speak to different organizations, because you can sort of create an unlimited number of forms, and as you said, add different images, they can also be really useful to actually do that testing. So for example, sometimes organizations will set up 3 donation forms that look sort of exactly the same, and maybe just have slightly different wording on, or send them out on sort of a different method of communication, so social media versus email. And because all of the donations are tracked in the back end of the CanadaHelps account, it means that you can see kind of which donation form the dollars have rolled in from. So that can actually be a really useful tool for testing as well.
Yeah.
Awesome. Another one, which I think is definitely kind of something that you guys will probably experience, is how do you keep asking for donations if you have a lot of needs? I know you guys do so many different things, and you often have quite a different number of sort of appeals. So how do you sort of make each project seem special or distinct?
Well, that was kind of the amazing thing that came out of the BEAR campaign as well, was that all the shelter staff, enforcement staff, and volunteers, as soon as they saw how successful it was, they all came flooding forward with more stories that we could tell. Because really every animal that comes to the SPCA, they have their own stories. Some are really captivating, some are heartbreaking, but they all deserve that happily ever after. And so with that, to make sure that we're not completely posting every single one and completely making it oversaturated, we're kind of limiting ours to just 1 per quarter, so about 4 a year that we'll do an urgent appeal on.
Awesome. That's really good to know kind of the time that you spread them out as well, because it's something that we get asked a lot. Sort of there's that same thing of donor fatigue, and you want to keep asking, but how much is too much? And it can really differ dependent on organization and sort of the cause. But yeah, it's really interesting to hear kind of how you spread those out for sure. Mm-hmm. Awesome. So just taking another look here. So a question that's been asked quite a few times, which I think is for you, Taylor, is can you repeat the name of the book that you mentioned, and also 3 E's? I think it was 3, maybe a couple more. Could you also repeat those as well? I think that's something that people are really interested to hear about.
Yeah, okay. So the book is called Building a Story Brand, and it's by Donald Miller.
Awesome.
And the 4 E's are educate, so they should learn something. It should excite them, so it should kind of fire them up, something inside. Should be engaging, so they should want to add their own voice to it. And it should be entertaining, so trigger something in them for them to want to share it themselves as well.
Awesome. Thanks so much for that. I've never heard that one before, and it's really interesting. I'm definitely going to buy that book. We actually have a book club here at Canada Helps because we're cool like that. So
I love book clubs.
So we're always, each week we kind of read a couple of chapters of different books, and we're always looking for new books. So maybe this is the next one that I put forward and they make us all read together. For sure. Awesome. Another one, which I think I can answer really quickly. Someone was just asking, I know the previous webinars are available, but are all of the slides available as well? So that's something, yep. So all of the recordings will be available. We'll actually email them out if you've registered for the webinar, but they are also on our site as well. And that's a recording, and they appear under the live blog on our website, charity live blog. Sorry, Jen's pointing at me to make sure I'm saying the right thing. But yeah, the recordings are held under the charity live blog on our website, and we will also email them out. So you'll be able to see the recording and all the slides in there as well. Awesome. I'm just taking a look now as well. Are there any other questions in there? And then, yeah, another one that's popped up here, and I think you maybe have covered this, but maybe it's just good to run through it again. So how did you promote those donation pages in that campaign? So maybe just very briefly the different sort of channels that you sent that out on.
Yep, so we put it through Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And we noticed on Facebook it actually has a tool that you can see when you have your highest peak and you have the most people on your page at that time. And so we noticed on our Facebook channels that's between 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. So that's why we launched it during that time.
Awesome.
Oh, we should also note, we didn't really say earlier, but on Instagram, where it's kind of difficult to post a link to something, we use text to donate on Instagram, not the Canada Helps page. So that was really cool too. It kind of let people give in a different way and also just as easy.
Awesome. Yeah, I think it's nice to always have kind of all bases covered. I think sometimes we're often playing kind of what works with different people, and people are motivated and want to give in different ways. So it's always good to kind of, yeah, tick all those boxes.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think we have time for one last question, and this is probably one that I can answer, and it's probably something you guys can speak to as well. Someone has asked, could you use the custom donate forms for Giving Tuesday? And that's something that, yes, 100%, you definitely can. So there's a couple of different ways that you can sort of tap into that. You can just log into sort of Canada Helps and create a form and make it very Giving Tuesday specific, and then that can be kind of where you're driving people to on that day, and really easy to track those donations that are coming in. I also know that the Giving Tuesday website has a page on there where it will also generate a Giving Tuesday themed donation form. So if you don't want to kind of log in to the Canada Helps account and do it, you can do it really quickly from the Giving Tuesday website as well. So, but definitely a great idea to have a specific donation form for Giving Tuesday, because it means you can track every donation that's sort of come in through that page. And I don't know if you guys want to maybe speak a little bit to Giving Tuesday, what you have planned, or it might be under wraps, so I don't want to put you under any pressure. But yeah.
I think we can talk about it.
Yeah, we can definitely talk about it. We're going to be using Canada Helps.
Yeah.
So we're going to be doing, where we want to stay with the theme of storytelling, we're going to be doing the 12 Strays of Christmas. So starting on Giving Tuesday, we're going to launch a new animal story every single day for those 12 days. And so it'll be 12 different Canada Helps pages.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So we were going to do just one multi-step page, and I would just change out the picture every time. But we thought it would be cool to see which story got the most love. So we're just going to do 12 different pages and see which one is most effective.
Awesome. I love that. I'm so excited to see that. I'll be tracking you for the gift guide and the 12 Strays.
Okay.
Such a good idea. I feel like, Taylor, like you are a pun master. There's a lot going on here. I love a good fun. Amazing. So I think, yeah, I'm getting eyes here that we are probably heading towards the end of our time. So just before we wrap up, I believe we have a poll that we are going to launch for everyone that's listening. So as I said at the beginning, this really is kind of the first time we've done a webinar sort of this style. So we're always open to feedback. We just wanted to know if there was a certain topic that sort of resonated for the future that we could sort of touch on. There are a couple of options there, but I know also that you can pop in a more detailed sort of answer in the question box. If there's something that's not in those sort of different options that you'd be interested in hearing about, pop it in. It really will kind of guide us. This is actually the last webinar of the year, Boo. I'm really sad, but we are planning for next year already. So this will really guide us in terms of what we could maybe take a look at. So it's not something, I don't think we'll be able to display the answers up there, but we're going to kind of take that back, and it will, yeah, help us as we're sort of heading into the new year. So thank you so much, everyone, for kind of filling that out. It really sort of helps us, and hopefully we can then, when we're featuring sort of a different charity or a different focus, it can be something that you guys are super engaged with. Amazing. So, yeah, I think that is all we've got time for. I don't really know how that hour went. It absolutely flew by. So thank you to everyone for the great questions, for staying with us and listening to sort of this amazing story, and also for filling out that poll. Laura and Taylor, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you, as always. Yeah, I feel very lucky that this is what I get to do for my job. For everyone at home, if you want to stay updated on our latest products, fundraising, free webinars, make sure to follow us on Twitter. Our Twitter handle is CharityLifeCA. And as we said, there's a host of resources on our website, so feel free to head there. We'll also be emailing those slides and the recording out, so look out for that as well. Last thing, my details are up on there. Honestly, feel free to reach out to me at any point. We can always have a chat about what's coming up and how we can be helping you to optimize a little bit more. And just thank you for joining us. It's always so nice to have this many people kind of tune in. Yeah, so we hope everyone has a great day. Laura and Taylor, again, thank you so much. Yeah,
thank you for having us. It was so much fun.
Good, good, good. I'm glad to hear. I'm glad to hear. We survived. We survived.
We did.
Awesome. Thanks so much, guys, for tuning in. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Hi.